Okay, so are you getting clear, boys? Everybody is getting clear, boys? Yes or no? Okay, so let's start. The next topic that we are going to cover is biological evolution. Okay, biological evolution. So in biological evolution part, we are going to check out like what it take for speciation, how speciation happens, okay, and what are the factors which contribute towards speciation, and how much time it take for things to evolve, okay, and whether every organism is capable of evolving fast, or some evolve faster and other evolve slower. So these are the few of the questions that we are going to talk about in this topic. Okay. Yes. Yes. So cellular form of life. So if somebody asks you in the evolutionary time period, which was the first point from which evolution started? Okay, so this period is the one when the first time two different cells, or two cells evolve from a single cell, and these two cells were having difference in their metabolic capabilities or metabolic functioning. So that was the very first point from where evolution started. Understood? Understood? Then we discussed Darwinian theory of evolution, and according to Darwinian theory of evolution, the cause of evolution is natural selection. Okay, so Darwin suggested the process of evolution is natural selection. Then the rate of appearance of new forms, the rate of appearance of new life is linked to the life cycle. Okay, for example, let us assume that human has average lifespan of 70 or 80 years. Okay, and if I'm let me let's assume that I am the one example of human, and we are talking about how these variations will be uh, going to transmit in the future generations. So if I have acquired some germinal variation, and which are going to be expressed in my children, so it will take at least 40-year time. Okay, and for their next generation to come, it will again take a 40-year time. Okay, that means to trace a genetic disorder or genetic change or a mutation in humans, it will take forever. Okay, you can just study 2-3 generation in your lifetime. Okay, so organism where they have a very long lifespan, the appearance of new character will take long time. That means evolution will be slow. But organisms which are dividing fast, for example coronavirus, you can detect the mutation the next day. Okay, because they are multiplying very fast. Got it? So for in a bacteria, those genetic changes to happen will take a day or few days or weeks. But those changes, let's say in a fowl or in a bird, it will take thousands of years. So the evolution is linked to life cycle. Smaller the life cycle, faster will be evolutionary changes. Okay, got it? Let us take one example of bacteria. So if we are having a sample of bacteria, and we change the composition of the medium in which bacteria was being grown, So you can start observing the changes in bacteria in a few week period or few week time. Okay, so the bacteria which can survive in this change environmental condition, they will become more populous, they will increase in population size, and the bacteria which are not able to adjust in this new environment, they will not survive and they will disappear, okay, or get extinct. Okay, and same thing to happen in the fish, fowl, or some organism with the bigger lifespan may take thousands of years. Okay, understood? Understood? So fitness is based on characteristics which are inherited. Fitness is based on characteristics which is inherited. And according to the Darwin, he was ultimately referring to reproductive fitness. Reproductive fitness. So we can say that there must be a genetic basis for getting selected and evolve. Okay, so these are the two very important points that you have to remember in this paragraph, that some organisms are better adapted to survive in a hostile environment. Okay, so this adaptive ability is inherited. It has a genetic basis. Okay, so some organisms are tougher than other when it comes to environmental disturbances. Okay, and another statement that you have to remember, this one: fitness is the end result of the ability to adapt and get selected by nature. Fitness is the end result of ability to adapt and get selected by nature. Okay, so I think this paragraph is pretty clear to everyone. Okay, next, branching descent and natural selection. These are the two key concepts in the Darwinian theory. So this is very important point that you have to remember. Branching descent and natural selection. These are the 2 points that that defines Darwinian theory of evolution. Okay, what is the meaning of branching descent? I have explained it in the form of a tree. So for example, there was some original parental stock, say species A, and it will evolve in these three directions: A, B, C, D. Okay, so there will be some differences between A and B and C, between C and D, and also between B and D. Okay, but all of these three species will share some similarities with A. Okay, and then what happened? This D is evolved into X and Y. So these X and Y will be little bit different from D. But if C is evolving into, let's say, K and L, so this L is going to be very much different with the X or with the Y. But K and L will be similar. They will be more similar among themselves than as compared to X and Y. Okay. So after millions of years, these three direction, that is A and B, B, C and D, that started from here, they will be entirely indistinguishable. Okay, so you cannot say which species is B and which species is D. Got it? So this is the branching descent. Okay. Then before Darwin, there is French naturalist called Lamarck. Okay, so Lamarck given a theory called the theory of use and disuse. Theory of use and disuse. So what is the meaning of theory of use and disuse is, he argued that if some organism is using a particular body part for a longer period of time or more frequently, so this particular organ is going to grow stronger and bigger. Okay, and if somebody is not using it, then it will disappear. So there was a scientist, Augustus Weismann. So what he did, he conducted the experiment on rat. He conducted experiment on rat. Okay, so this is a typical rat that I am drawing. Okay, so what he did, he cut this rat's tail. He cut this rat's tail for 7 generations. How many generations? 7 generations he kept cutting the tails of the rat. Okay, so that means these rat will not be using their tail for 7 generations. But he could not produce a tailless rat, okay, as the offspring. So that means the Lamarck theory of use and disuse is wrong. Okay, Lamarck also given similar ideas for the giraffe. They said that in the African forest, where there were abundant giraffes, they used to feed on grasses. But after some time, what happened? Uh, because of drought, grass was no longer available, and now the giraffe has to feed on tall trees. Okay, so for tall trees they have to stretch their neck to uh, to get up to the tips of those trees. So because of this stretching, giraffe developed a longer neck. Okay, but that is also absurd. This is also incorrect. This is not the correct theory. Okay, and they have similar ideas about the legs of snakes. So they said that snakes has legs, and they used to crawl. They used to walk through their legs, but these legs were posing some difficulties while they were entering into their burrows. So they were not able to get into the burrow. So uh, they stopped using the legs, and those legs disappeared, and the snake started crawling. Okay, so these theories looks very very easy and also appealing, but these are all incorrect. Okay, got it. So now what we have learned from this Lamarck's experience, that there are two type of characters. There are two type of character. One is called acquired character, and one are called germinal character or germ cell. So which are like determined by the gene or genetic character, more correctly we can call. Okay, so these characters, genetic characters, are inherited in the offspring, and acquired characters are not inherited. Okay, for example, if you start playing cricket and you are a good cricketer, there is no guarantee there that your child will be that good in the cricket. So because this is a acquired character. In the same way, okay, a bodybuilder's child may or may not be bodybuilder. Okay, they have to exercise and build their muscles. Okay, clear? Okay, so the next paragraph that we are talking about is just a moment please. So this paragraph is talking about, is evolution a process or the end result? Okay, so my answer for this question is, it is both. It is a process and also the end result. It depends on how you are looking at it. It depends on how you are looking at it. For example, when we describe the story of this bird, we describe evolution as a process. Okay, and when we describe the story of life on earth, we treat evolution as a consequence of a process called natural selection. So these two lines are very, very important. You have to remember. Okay, so the bird we see today, whether it is inanimate or animate, means whether we are talking about living things or we are talking about non-living things, everything represent the success story of evolution, because in the beginning of this chapter we talked about evolution of earth, evolution of universe, okay, and evolution of the material. So everything animate and inanimate is the end result of evolution. Okay, now my next question is evolution is still happening? What is your answer? Is evolution is still happening? Yes, answer is yes, evolution is still happening. Evolution is still happening. Good. So we are not still very clear whether evolution is the evolution and natural selection are the process or end result of process at this point of time. We can say depend on what you are talking about. Okay, so it is both. Okay. Then there is a scientist called Thomas Malthus. Yeah. Okay, yeah, Thomas Malthus, whatever you call. So Thomas Malthus, and he has written an essay on population. He has written an essay on population. Okay, and his essay influenced or shaped the Darwin's theory. So what this essay is all about? It says there are certain things which are factual on which Darwin's theory is based. Okay, there are certain factual things on which Darwin's theory is based. For example, natural resources are limited and population are stable in size except for seasonal fluctuation. Okay, members of a population varies in characteristic, and third one, most of the variation are inherited. So these are some of the fact on which the natural selection theory is based. Okay. So, but theoretically, population size can grow exponentially if every individual of population reproduced maximally, then there will be no limit on this population. Okay, but in reality, population size doesn't increase that way. Population size are limited. Okay, because there is competition for resources. Okay, there is competition for resources. So this yellow sentence is one of my favorite for this paragraph. Only some survive and grew at the cost of others that could not flourish. Okay, and this explains your NEET exam very well. Okay, everybody is filling the form, everybody is paying 1500 bucks for the form. Okay, but only 25,000 in the government college and 25,000 in private college. That many number of students are going to make it. So all the aspirant, like 15 lakh people who are filling the form, they're going to fund their exam. Okay, so it is like that. Okay, so the very important message that Darwin gave, okay, it was to categorize the character in two different points. One are inheritable variation and another is adaptive variations. Okay, so he said that inheritable variations are transmitted. Okay, so he did not have a clear word for that genetic variation are transferred. He said there are some variation which are inheritable and there are some variation which are non-inheritable. So non-inheritable variations are adaptive features and inheritable variations are genetic features. So genetic features are transmitted. Okay, got it? Clear everyone? So survivor will leave more progeny and other would be there will be change in characteristic and new forms will appear. Okay, so we have covered this particular topic, biological evolution. I'm giving you 5-minute time to revise this topic, then I will be asking questions. Okay, so please go through it. Yes, growth of bacteria in culture plate is an example of evolution by humans. Yes. Shall I start asking questions? Okay. What is the relation between rate of appearance of new forms and the lifespan? Somebody is asking for organism, natural selection is better or adaptive radiations. Okay. So actually it is not organism's choice to which through which it can go. Okay. It is not organism's choice. It depends on nature. Yes, so the answer for the last question is the shorter the lifespan, faster will be the rate of evolution or changes. Faster will be the rate of evolution or changes. Okay. According to Darwin, what is the meaning of fitness? According to Darwin, what is the meaning of fitness? The answer is reproductive fitness. The answer is reproductive fitness. Okay. What are the two key concepts of Darwinian theory of natural selection? What are the two key concepts of Darwin's theory of evolution basically? Yes, answer is branching descent and natural selection. Answer is branching descent and natural selection. Good. Lamarck was from which country? Lamarck was from which country? Yes, he was from France. Okay. Who gave the theory of use and disuse? Who gave the theory of use and disuse? Answer is Lamarck. Answer is Lamarck. Yes, good. So evolution is a process or the end result. I repeat, evolution is process or end result. Okay, so my question is when we can call evolution as a process? When we can refer evolution as a process? Yes, when we talk about the story of this world, then this is a process. Yes, then this is a process. So we are not very clear whether to call it a process or end result. Okay, so it is both depending on how we are looking at it. Okay. An essay on population was written by, an essay on population was written by. Yes, answer is Thomas Malthus. Okay. What are the facts on which natural selection is based? What are the facts on which natural selection is based? What are the facts on which natural selection is based? Yes, there are three facts. Number one, resources are limited. Populations are stable in size. Population are stable in size except for seasonal fluctuation. Okay, and most variations are inherited. Yes, there is competition for resources. Yes. What is the meaning of this line? Only some survived and grew at the cost of others that could not flourish. What is the meaning of this line? Only some survived and grew at the cost of others that could not flourish. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, basically everybody is paying the cost for the life, but only some can survive. Okay, only some can survive. I have given you the example of NEET form. Okay, everybody is filling this form. Around 15 lakh candidates are filling this form, but actually 25 to 50,000 will be benefit from it. 25,000 to 50,000 student will be benefited from it. Okay. Yes. So there is also there is competition for survival. There is competition for profession. Okay, both are similar. Now let's talk about the next topic, mechanism of evolution. Okay, so basically in this topic we are going to talk about how the variations arise, what is the cause of these variations. Okay, so Mendel talked about inheritable factors which influence the phenotype. Okay, inheritable factors, because during Mendel's time we were not very clear about genetic material and which chemical is functioning as genetic material, what are the physical location of the genes and how the genes look like, what is the chemical nature of genes, how they function. So these type of ideas were not there. Okay, so he called them factors. But Darwin either ignored those facts, and he has not given any like attention to those facts, that what are the factors and all. Okay, but there's another scientist, Hugo de Vries. Okay, so Hugo de Vries was experimenting with a plant called evening primrose. What is the name of the plant? Evening primrose. And scientific name of this plant is Oenothera lamarckiana. Oenothera lamarckiana. So he was working on this plant, and then he described mutations. Okay, so basically this is the mutation theory of evolution. So when we talk about Darwin's theory, the key idea of Darwin's theory is natural selection. Because of natural selection, evolution is happening. But Hugo de Vries is saying it is because of mutations. It is because of mutations that evolution is happening. Okay, so he believed that mutation causes evolution, not the minor variation that Darwin talked about. Okay, so this is the basic difference between the two theory. So first difference is Darwin says evolution happens because of natural selection, but Hugo de Vries is saying it is happening because of mutations. Okay, and second difference, mutations are random and directionless. Mutations are random and directionless, means the mutation may be positive for a particular species or it may be negative for that species, and even some mutations are neutral, not affecting at all to this species. Okay, so mutations are random and they are directionless. Mutations are chance factors or chance phenomena. Okay, but Darwin's variations are small and directional. So this is another very important difference between Darwin's theory and uh, de Vries theory. Okay, got it? Okay, so evolution for Darwin was gradual, and for de Vries it was sudden. So these mutations or sudden mutations are called saltation. These are called saltation. So this is the term that you have to remember, saltation. The meaning of saltation is single step large mutation. Single step large mutation. Okay, and then to get some clarity we need to study population genetics. Okay, so what is population genetic? Study of genetic differences within and between the populations. So it is called population genetics. Why population genetics? Because in population genetics we can find more than two alleles of the same gene. Okay, so we will be able to study multiple genes for the same character. Okay, so the population studies will help it more. Then let's talk about Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. So what is Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium? It says that gene frequency in a population remain fixed. Okay, so there are various way of telling this. So there are 4 or 5 way of telling this. So the first one is frequency of occurrence of allele of a gene or a locus. This will remain fixed and remain same through generations. So this is the first statement of Hardy-Weinberg principle. Okay, and the second way of telling the same thing is this one. Allele frequencies in a population are stable and constant from generation to generations. Okay. Third way of saying the same thing is gene pool or total alleles in a population remain constant. This is third way. Okay. And the fourth way of telling the same thing is sum total of all allelic frequency is 1. Sum total of all allelic frequency is 1. Okay, so these are the 4 different ways we can define Hardy-Weinberg principle. So I'm repeating once again. Frequency of occurrence of allele of a gene or a locus remain fixed and remain same through generations. Okay, so what is the meaning of this sentence? The meaning is very clear that for example, I have a chromosome. I am drawing the chromosome and let's call it locus A. Locus A is the location of a gene on this chromosome. Okay, and on locus A, suppose there is some gene. Let us call it G. There is gene G which is found on location A or locus A. Okay, got it? So if we study the population, the gene G will be found on the same chromosome at similar location. Okay, and each and every individual, and also in the future progeny of this person from which we have taken this chromosome. Okay. Second, allelic frequency in a population are stable and constant from generation to generations. So for example, if there are 2 gene A and B, or it will be better if we will take same letter. For example, there are 2 gene, let me call it capital A and small a. Okay, so when we study the population, so the sum total of occurrence of capital A and small a gene will be equal to 1. Okay, will be equal to 1. So I am coming on that equation later. So just you need to remember those sentences first. Okay, gene pool. What is the gene pool? Sum total of all the genes. Okay, all the genes in a population. So why we study gene pool? Okay, and what is included in the gene pool? So for example, we have 23 pair of chromosomes. So we are taking 23 chromosome out of it. Okay, and making sure that we have all the possible variations of particular genes. Okay, and these variations could be found only in population because a single individual will have only 2 copies of a particular gene. Understood? Clear? Clear? So in population studies, we can collect all the possible copies of a particular gene. Okay, and we will see that the frequency of occurrence of those alleles is constant. Okay, and sum total of all the allelic frequency is equals to 1. So before we discuss these graphs, we can represent it in the form of this equation. Okay, what is this equation? P square plus 2pq. Let me clear it. Okay, so you can see this equation, p square plus 2pq plus q square equals to 1. So for example, For example, these are the allele. Okay, these are the allele. So there are two variant of this allele. One is the dominant allele, another is recessive allele. Okay, so dominant homozygous will be A into A. Recessive homozygous will be small a into small a, and the heterozygous is going to be capital A into small a. Okay, so for example, if frequency of occurrence of A, capital A is P, and frequency of occurrence of small a is Q, then AA is going to be P square, small a is going to be Q square, and capital A into small a, it is going to be PQ. Okay, so this equation we can write it in the form of P square plus 2PQ plus Q square equals to 1. This is similar to A square plus 2AB plus B square. Okay, do you remember this equation? A plus B whole square. Okay, got it? Yes, yes. So basically this particular equation represent a genetic equilibrium. This equation represent a genetic equilibrium. Okay, so if the frequency of occurrence of allele is exactly equals to 1 according to this equation, that means there is no evolution. Okay, and if this equation is not satisfied, then it shows that evolution is happening. So first thing that we can predict from this equation is the evolution, if it is happening or it is not happening. It can be found out from this genetic equilibrium. If equilibrium is maintained, means no evolution. If equilibrium is disturbed, then it means evolution is happening. Understood? Clear, everyone? Yes. So what are these disturbances? So these we can represent in the form of three graphs. Okay, so these are the graphs. So let us call this first graph as A. This first graph is A. Okay, so I have taken the example of height in this, although height is a polygenic trait. It depends on a number of genes, but for simplicity, I have taken height to explain this concept. Okay, so for example, the tip of this graph is representing individual which are 6 feet tall, which are 6 feet tall. Okay, these are medium sized individual. These are medium sized individual. On other end, there are people who are taller than 6 feet, and this end there are people who are smaller than 6 feet. Okay, so in stabilizing selection, this type of selection, let me call it A, sorry, it is B. So in stabilizing selection, the mean character is favored. So if we compare it with the previous graph, this one, so you can see uh, these sides has been reduced. These sides were longer here, but these has been reduced here. Okay, so that means mean character is favored. Okay, peripheral character are not favored, they disappear. Okay, and in the directional selection, you can see this peak will shift. Earlier this peak was in the middle of both side, but here it is longer and this is smaller. So peak is shifting towards one side. So this is called directional selection. That means the people who are taller are being favored. Okay, so they will make more progeny. Okay, and the last one is called disruptive selection. So disruptive selection means the mean the individual who are having mean character, they will not be favored. So you will see there will be dip in the peak, and the both side on both side there are bigger peak representing that individual who are like smaller than 6 feet or taller than 6 feet are being favored, and 6 feet people are not being favored. Got it? So it is called disruptive selection. So there might be three type of selection. So all three graphs are representing basically the possible ways in which a population will evolve. Okay, so these three graphs are representing possible ways in which the population will be evolved. Okay, clear? Clear everyone? Yes or no? Okay. So there are certain uh, terms that I have written here, so you can note it down. Number one is sibling species. So what is sibling species? Species which look similar but cannot breed with each other are called sibling species. Okay, somebody is requesting for last diagram. Let me explain the last diagram once again. Okay, so like the first diagram can be divided into three parts. So this is the mean character. We called it people who are 6 feet high, 6 feet tall. Okay, and the next part, these are the people who are having height greater than 6 feet. And first one are the people who are smaller than 6 feet. Okay. So in this particular diagram, they are saying that 6 feet individual are not favored by nature. So their population will decline, and the population of individual who are taller than 6 feet or smaller than 6 feet, their population size will grow. So this is the diagram. This is the diagram. What is the message from this diagram? Understood? Okay. Next is the polytypic species. Polytypic species. So what is polytypic species? So allopatric population that differ from one another are called polytypic species. Okay. And what is allopatric speciation? Genetically related population inhabiting in a widely separated geographical area. Genetically related populations inhabiting in widely separated geographical area are called allopatric species, and such speciation is allopatric speciation. Okay, the next one is sympatric. So have you written this? Please note it down, then I will explain next one. Have you written this?
Accessibility shortcuts, 14 items, voice guide, off. Voice guide on. Voice guide off. Close.
Out. So can you explain these two sentences? No, Darwin's finches were in the same island. Okay, so when we compare them with the birds from the other geographical areas, then yes, it is an example of allopatric speciation. And but if we compare those finches among themselves, then it is not. Okay. Okay, done. So let me move on to the next. Next is the sympatric speciation. So evolution of new species from a surviving ancestor species while both continue to live in the same geographical area. I repeat, evolution of new species from a surviving ancestor species while both continue to live in the same geographical area. Means one ancestor species is living in one area, and from this ancestor species two different line of species will arise, and they both will continue to live in the same area. Okay, so this is called sympatric speciation. Understood? Okay, so now a few important sentence that you have to remember. So let me go through these quickly. So first of all, you note down this sympatric association, sympatric speciation. This is the definition for sympatric association. Yes, this is correct. Australian marsupial and placental mammal. Yes, it is correct. but in that too we have to consider a single species, that too in the same geographical area. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about some of the statement here. When frequency measured differ from expected value, the difference indicate the extent of evolutionary change. Okay, extent of evolutionary change. uh, I will give you the example in the next class. Okay, example for the speciation in the next class. Disturbance in genetic equilibrium. Next statement, disturbance in genetic equilibrium, or that means disturbance in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. It will again represent evolutionary changes, changes in frequency of allele. Okay, got it? Next point, there are 5 important factors which affect Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. How many factors are there? 5 important factors which affect Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. What are these factors? These are gene migration or gene flow, genetic drift, mutation, and genetic recombination. Okay, and natural selection. Okay, do you remember what example I have given you in the class for gene migration? Do you remember what example I have given for this gene migration? Anyone? No answer? Okay. Migration to Australia. I talked about migration to USA. Okay. Okay. So when you will become a good doctor, suppose one of you migrate to US. Okay. So that will be gene migration. That will be gene migration. So if everybody is moving to USA after completing their medical degrees, then it will constitute gene flow. Okay, gene migration started by one individual, then it became a regular phenomena, so it will be gene flow. Okay, and if it happens accidentally, for example, tsunami came in India and it makes your life impossible, and in that condition you move to USA, then it will be genetic drift. Then it will be genetic drift. Mutation, genetic recombination, and natural selection, these 3 topics you already understand. Okay, so when gene migration happens, gene frequency are changed at both the places. Okay, for example, I am writing here, this is USA and this is India. So you are migrating from India to USA and you are settling there. That means you will marry somebody in USA. That means you will change gene frequency in USA. Okay, so gene frequency, because some genes are being lost from India, some genes are lost from India because you moved. So this is you. So you contain some gene and you are moving to USA. That means the gene which were within you are lost from this population and they are added to the population of USA. So that means gene frequency are changed at both the places from where you are migrating and to where you are migrating. Okay, so in gene flow or gene migration, frequency of genes are changed at both the places, mean genetic equilibrium is disturbed. Genetic equilibrium is disturbed. Okay. Sometime what happens, the change in allele frequency are so much that it becomes a different population or different species. So the originally drifted population is called founder, and this effect is called founder effect. Okay, I repeat once again. Sometime in the change in allele frequency is so different in the new sample of population that they become a different species. Okay, and the originally drifted population becomes founder, they become founding fathers, and this effect is called founder effect. Okay, this paragraph we have already covered most of it. It is talking about those three graphs. Okay, but there are few new points that I will like to highlight. In microbial experiment, there are pre-existing advantageous mutation when selected will result in observation of new phenotype. So what this statement mean? For example, if we are conducting some experiment on bacteria and we are growing those bacteria in a petri dish, and this petri dish is containing some antibiotics. Okay, so only those bacteria will survive in this petri dish which are having the resistant gene for this particular antibiotics. So that means if we are selecting a random population of bacteria and putting those bacteria into this culture plate, only those bacteria will survive which are having resistant gene for the antibiotic present in the medium. So that means no matter what sample we are taking in the culture medium, the growing bacteria will be only ones which are having resistant gene for this antibiotic. Understood? Understood. That means the original sample that we have taken, it contain both type of the bacteria, one having antibiotic resistant gene and one which are not having antibiotic resistant gene. But because of the medium, the selection has happened. Okay. Okay. So another point for natural selection is a process in which inheritable variations enabling better survival are enabled. Okay, this is like you might have seen those switch in your phone or some app which says enable, disable. Okay, so it happens like that. Natural selection is a process in which heritable variations, those variations which are giving better chances for survival, these are switched on. Okay, and such individual will leave more progeny. Manoj Kumar, Manoj Kumar, turn your video off. Turn your video off. I will remove you otherwise. Got it? Got it? So, I was talking about variation due to mutation or variation due to recombination during gametogenesis or gene flow or genetic drift. They will change the frequency of genes in a population. Okay? And these changes enhance the reproductive success. Okay, so because of natural selection, certain population will become different from the original population and they constitute a new species. Okay, so this paragraph is very, very important. You have to reread these few points. Okay, and the last yellow paragraph, this is about these three graphs. Natural selection can lead to stabilization. So what is the stabilization? You have already seen the mean characters are selected. So in stabilizing selection, mean character individual are preferred. So more individual will acquire mean character. Okay. In the directional selection, This one, more individual acquire value other than the main character. Okay, so it might be on either side. The character might get enhanced or it can get reduced. And in disruption, they will acquire periphery character. Okay, on periphery character on both side. In directional, either side, and in disruption, both side. Okay, so we have covered this topic. I am again giving you 5 minute time to revise. You have to start revising from this mechanism of evolution. Then I will ask you a few questions. So you have 5 minute time to revise. No, it is not true that only minor variation are inheritable. Okay, any kind of variation, whether these are minor or major. Saltation means a single step large mutation. Saltation means single step large mutation. Means mutation is happening like just from parent to progeny, and that is also a big change. So this big change is saltation. Should I start asking the questions? Are you ready? Okay, so shall we start questions? Okay. What was the name of plant on which Lamarck was working? What is the name of plant on which Lamarck was working? Not Lamarck, sorry, De Veres were working. What is the scientific name of this plant? What is the scientific name of this plant? What is saltation? What is saltation? What is saltation? Yes, single step, large mutation. Yes. What are the difference between evolution theory of Darwin and evolution theory of De Veres? What are the difference between the two? Yes. So the differences were, for Darwin it was natural selection, for De Veres it was mutations. Mutations are directionless, natural selection is directional. Yes, these are the differences. Good. Good. What is gene pool? What is the meaning of gene pool? What is the meaning of gene pool? Yes, total gene and their allele in a population constitute gene pool. Okay, what is founder effect? What is founder effect? What is founder effect? Yes, there are so much genetic change, frequency is so much changed that it forms a new species. An original drifted population is called founders, and this effect is called founders effect. Okay, so that is all for today. See you tomorrow at 9:30. Thank you. Have a great day.